Mandatory evacuations for over 70,000 Orange County residents as the flames continue to sweep our local cities. We will have team coverage on the fires in Irvine, Lake Forest, and another in Yorba Linda. 2 firefighters are in critical condition with burns over large parts of their bodies. The countdown continues for the 2020 presidential election with only 7 days left, and we will let you know all the details on casting your vote early and what the nominees are up to on their campaign trail. The Los Angeles Dodgers continue their fight for the World Series title. We'll preview Game 6. This and so much more. OC News starts now. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of OC News. I'm Jacqueline Davis. OC News is brought to you by the broadcast journalism students of Cal State Fullerton. We start tonight with breaking news on several fronts. Thousands of people living in Irvine, Lake Forest, and Yorba Linda are under mandatory evacuation orders. We have 2 fires burning dangerously close to homes, businesses. We have team coverage tonight. Eric Valenciano is following the Silverado fire burning in Irvine and Lake Forest. Teresa Maldonado reports on the more than 70,000 evacuations and talked to one person who refuses to leave. We start with the largest fire burning along a section of Irvine into Lake Forest. We go live with Eric Valenciano, who is on the Silverado fire, which starts this morning and quickly grew to thousands of acres. Eric?
Yeah, just as you mentioned, it did start this morning. As you can see behind me, there is a ton of smoke, a ton of ashes flying over. It's almost really hard to breathe out here. There's smoke all over the place. We're right alongside the 57 freeway right here. There's not a whole lot of traffic over here, but if you go to the other side where the 91 and the 241 and those highways are at, they're either shut down or jam-packed right now. So a little bit of information here. It began as a vegetation fire at about 6:47 a.m. this morning in the area of San Diego Canyon Road and Silverado Canyon Road. Only 10 acres had set ablaze when it was first reported. Since then, it has jumped the 241 freeway, and right now it has grown to 4,000 acres with no containment. So let's take a look at some of the latest updates from the OC Fire Authority. As I said before, it has grown to 4,000 acres, no containment. There are strong, erratic winds estimated to be about 20 to 30 miles per hour. The gusts have gotten up to 70 miles per hour today. About 20,000 homes were evacuated. There are 500 personnel who are on scene battling the flames. And there were mandatory evacuations for the Foothill Ranch and the Baker Ranch area. Of course, those areas are in Lake Forest. They were being told to get ready at one point, and now a lot of those areas, they're being told to leave. They're setting up an emergency care center at El Toro High School. There you'll likely find the Red Cross and someone with the fire department to give you updates and more information. This is an ongoing situation here, and let's take a look right now at the evacuation map of the Lake Forest area. And if you take a look at the map on your screen, zones 4, 5, 7 in Foothill Ranch, those are areas where they're getting ready. You want to be on watch and just to see whether or not you will be evacuated tonight. Right now, they're not mandatory evacuation zones. What are mandatory evacuation zones are 1, 2, 3, and 9. That's the Baker Ranch area. That's what you'd see right around that 241 freeway. Right there, that is a mandatory evacuation. UC Irvine has suspended all of campus operations, and the smoke, if we could take a look at the map, there's smoke everywhere. We have this really cool graphic here that shows the direction of the smoke, so you can see exactly where it's going. The 133 toll road is heavily with smoke. The I-5 connector to the northbound 133 is closed, and several freeways around that. keep in mind there's 150 firefighting units in total that are working the fire right now. And we really feel for everybody that's over there, as well as there's a lot of animals over there. We really feel for them as well, because they're in the fire right now, and they're trying to get to safety. And keep in mind, this is the same area of Orange County that burned 13 years ago, which was described as one of the county's most disastrous wildfires in decades. So we continue to monitor here. Again, there is smoke, ash everywhere. We hope everybody stays safe out there, and we hope for the best of the situation. That being said, reporting live here in the East Side structure, I'm Eric Valenciano. Let's send it back to you in the studio.
Breaking news from the Silverado fire. This afternoon, we found out 2 firefighters suffered critical injuries. OC News' reporter Olivia Campos is here with more details. Olivia?
2 Orange County firefighters are in critical condition, sustaining serious burns all over their bodies while battling the Silverado fire. The 2 crew members, aged 26 and 31, were injured this afternoon approximately at 12:15 p.m. Both are suffering from 2nd and 3rd degree burns and are currently on ventilators at the Orange County Global Medical Center in Santa Ana. The Orange County Fire Authority took to Twitter to give us an update on these 2 crew members, saying about 65% of the first crew member's body is covered with 2nd and 3rd degree burns, while 50% of the second crew member's body is suffering from 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Many Twitter users shared their thoughts and prayers for these 2 brave crew members. As for now, no other information has come out of the identity of these 2 courageous firefighters.
About 70,000 Orange County residents are under mandatory evacuation orders tonight. Some people went to shelters to set up throughout the county. Others refused to leave their homes, saying they will stay and fight the fire. OC News reporter Teresa Maldonado talked with one Irvine man who has been evacuated. Teresa?
I spoke with Irvine resident David Manock and his family, who were one of the many who were evacuated by the Silverado fire.
Basically this morning was awakened by very heavy winds, and then followed by basically blackened skies with a lot of ash and soot in the air, and then smoke fire going throughout. So basically received text that stand by for evacuation if needed. My particular area didn't get evacuated at this point, but we're on standby because of the high winds and then the smoke in the background there. And I can kind of switch it around here so you can kind of see what's going on with that. Back over there, 133 Flueva is right there. Irvine Boulevard is kind of the area that it started out with just recently here, but over back in that corner is the Santiago Canyon, where it started this morning at 6:45 a.m. and continued to burn basically southwest there as it was going towards, I guess, Laguna Beach. Still very heavy smoke in the air and ash. The winds have died down somewhat. And it was my son and my wife. We also got evacuated. So she did proceed to work because of her area was down closer to Dana Point area, so there wasn't a threat at this point. Did have a mask on earlier. I just took it off here so I could talk to you guys in clarity, but the area is it's hard to breathe. Like I said, there's a lot of ash and kind of filtration particles in the air, so air quality is not really good at this point. Here, the wind is still very high, so kind of gusts coming through. Earlier today, they were saying that we had wind gusts of up to about 70 miles an hour that came through the area.
Many residents throughout Orange County. We are hopeful that this brush fire will soon be contained.
Southern California is experiencing air quality and high wind advisory through late tomorrow afternoon. The strong gusts are coming from the northeast and low relative humidity from the mountains and valleys. The wind gusts are between 60 to 70 miles an hour, causing damage as trees begin to fall. The red flag warning throughout Southern California will remain in effect as the winds will decrease late Monday night, but the breeze will continue through Tuesday morning. This image was taken in Riverside County because of the high winds and experiencing high power outages. Southern California Edison is doing a public safety power shutoff that are happening all over because of these weather conditions. This graphic of Orange County public information map shows where the evacuations are for both the Silverado and the Blue Ridge fires that are burning today. Another fire started late this afternoon in the Corona-Yorba Linda area called the Blue Ridge Fire. This fire is now burning rooftops of homes in Yorba Linda area. Mandatory evacuations have been issued in the Yorba Linda area. We turn to Tristan Monologue, who has the latest on the first fast-moving blaze. Tristan?
Hey Jacqueline, I'm out here at the East Side Parking Structure. Take a look behind me. You can see the smoke. As you can see, the sky's literally blue right above me. Go down and it's just smoke. It's just smoke. And just like Eric said, you thought the fires were done? No, we have an unprecedented day today with the Silverado fire from earlier that Eric just mentioned. And now just this afternoon, the brand new Blue Ridge fire came up. Take a look at this video right here. As you can see, firefighters have been going out, helicopters, planes, putting out the fires right away. It started around 1:30. Originally, it was named the Green Fire, named after the Green River Golf Course at around 1:30 p.m. However, another 100-acre patch near Blue Ridge Drive in Yorba Linda occurred shortly after, thus renaming it to the now called Blue Ridge Fire. Officials say an estimated 700 acres have burned so far, and it's not going to stop right now. As right at this moment, 0% have been contained, and it's spreading rapidly west with eastern winds heading towards the Anaheim direction. At this moment, authorities say that Anaheim is not at an immediate threat, but they are closely monitoring the situation. In terms of evacuations, take a look at this map right here to get the latest on the evacuations. Evacuations are starting for neighborhoods north of the 91 freeway and east of Gypsum Canyon. If you're in those situations, you want to head over to the nearest evacuation centers, which are located in Anaheim's Esperanza High School, along with Valencia High School in Placentia. Now, here's an interesting fact. Ryan Ratch Elementary Academy School, which is in the evacuation zone, resumed in-person classes just this week. Now with this fire, looks like it's not going to happen today. So they boarded and bused all the students into buses, transporting them to Esperanza High School in Anaheim, and that's where your students and kids are out there for pickup. So you want to head down there over now. Gusts at this moment are up to 50 miles per hour with relatively low temperatures and low humidity. As you can see, the smoke, it's just going to get darker here. I mean, it's past around 5 p.m. now. It's getting darker, and it's only going to be a gloomy night. At this moment, it's unclear when or why the fire started, and it's only going to get worse. In fact, animals that need help evacuating, along with the animal shelters and the rescue centers, they can be brought over to the OC Animal Care Services in Tustin. And what's interesting to note is that the Blue Ridge fire happened in the same area. Yes, the same area of the freeway fire back in 2008, which destroyed about 120 structures. Well, that's the latest here from me at the East Side Parking Structure. Just keep in touch with the news, keep in touch with us, and stay safe out there, folks. Bring it back to you, Jacqueline.
As I was driving into the newsroom, I witnessed the start of the Blue Ridge fire. Here is some footage of the fire as it broke out around 1 or 1:30 this afternoon. According to the fire officials, it was unclear how the fire started. It has spread to over 700 acres, according to the Orange County Sheriff Department, and they have set evacuations for the residents north of the 91 and east of Gypsum Canyon. The fires have caused several road closures in Irvine and Lake Forest. The following roads are closed according to the official toll roads website. For the 133, everything is closed between the 241 and Irvine Boulevard. The connector to the northbound 241, the 5 freeway connector to the northbound 133, and the northbound 133 between the 5 and the 241. The 241 toll is closed northbound from the 241 at Oso Parkway to the 91 freeway and southbound 241 between the 91 and Lake Forest Drive. And the 261 is closed in both directions between Portola and the 241 Santiago Canyon Boulevard. Record-breaking coronavirus cases are sweeping the country, leading into what officials could say is the darkest winter in modern history. The latest average shows the highest numbers of new cases we've seen since the start of the pandemic. CNN's Erica Hill has the latest to how experts say the U.S. might continue to break records.
More Americans hospitalized, more new infections, more lives lost. The average number of new cases in the U.S., nearly 69,000 a day.
We're looking forward to a number of record weeks in the very near future that will drive this daily rate above 100,000.
37 states reporting an increase in new cases over the past week, 21 posting their highest 7-day averages to date.
Literally, we've never given up on a virus like this before.
With no national plan, experts are working overtime to fill the void.
If people are not wearing masks, then maybe we should be mandating it.
Former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb pushing for a temporary nationwide mandate in a new op-ed, noting states should be able to choose how to enforce a mandate, but the goal should be to make masks a social and cultural norm, not a political statement.
We actually have a narrow window of opportunity right now to stop the explosive spread that is coming.
4 confirmed cases at this Arizona middle school, prompting a 2-week quarantine for hundreds of students and staff. Chicago adding a new curfew as numbers there rise. Illinois' Director of Public Health breaking down over the weekend.
We are reporting 3,874 new cases for a total of 33 confirmed cases since the start of this pandemic. Excuse me, please.
The Utah Hospital Association warning it may soon need to ration care.
That would affect not just people who have COVID, but people who need to go to the ICU for other medical purposes.
El Paso, Texas, adding a 2-week curfew as hospitals and ICUs reach capacity.
We've had significant spikes to the point that our hospital capacity is really tapped. We're probably at the end of our rope there.
The convention center being converted to a hospital to help manage the surge, which shows no sign of slowing.
As we start to head into colder months, experts say we can see an increase in COVID-19 cases and undergo a second wave of the virus. While the White House Corona Task Force is working on a vaccine, the FDA has approved of the drug remdesivir as a treatment for patients.
It's the only approved drug, but it's not sort of the home run I think that a lot of people wanted in terms of actually increasing survival.
As research continues, Americans are reminded to be cautious and avoid the so-called COVID fatigue.
In many states such as Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Florida, and many more, they have seen a 10 to 50% increase in new cases within a week. After the break, we will look at an early voting information and deadlines, as well as we can safely get those votes in.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
No, you said make it bigger, baby. The bigger, the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
With voting season in effect, many people are still voting in person. We have Eric Valenciano out to show how to do it safely.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm great.
Election day is rapidly approaching in the Southland, with ballot centers popping up all over LA and Orange County. And while one candidate looks to retain their presidency, the other is fighting to win it.
Donald Trump hasn't delivered on a damn thing he said he'd do.
But they're not the only ones fighting. For the first time in our lifetime, voters will cast their ballot in the midst of a global pandemic. While concerns arise over long lines and person-to-person contact, polling centers are making it easier to vote than ever before, with ballot drop-off boxes and the option to mail in your vote. Centers like Cal Poly Pomona, Mount Sac, and Cal State Fullerton are making groundbreaking changes of their own.
And if you still want to come in and cast your vote, but you don't want to touch too much, don't worry, Cal Poly Pomona, they've got it all set up, state-of-the-art. You don't have to touch too much here. They've got these ballot marking devices. All you got to do is when you check in, you get a QR code. You put your white ballot down, and you can either touch here, or you can do it straight from your phone.
I think it's really important for people to vote, and so it's important to accommodate them.
Cal State Fullerton opens their early voting center on Friday and will be open on November 3rd with strict social distance guidelines to ensure a safe election day. Reporting for OC News, I'm Eric Valenciano.
One of the more interesting positions on the California ballot this year involves another gig workers that companies such as Uber and Postmates. Our reporter Tristan Milog explains Proposition 22.
With the election around the corner, many voters often scrutinize their ballots on the various state propositions. And while it can be difficult to understand what the props state, one of the more prominent initiatives is turning heads over wheels. Here's what you need to know about California's Prop 22. Prop 22 asks whether or not to exempt gig companies from an already existing California law requiring them to treat their workers as employees rather than independent contractors. California Assembly Bill 5, passed in September 2019, gave gig workers benefits such as a guaranteed minimum wage and overtime pay. But corporations such as Uber and Lyft have refused to comply and have threatened to stop services, bringing us to Prop 22. Supporters, funded by the gig companies, have raised over a whopping $200 million, the most for any initiative ever in California. While those in opposition, mainly labor groups, have raised just $20 million. A yes vote is being endorsed by the GOP and gig corporations, while a no vote is endorsed by the Democratic presidential ticket and labor unions. Voters shared their thoughts on Prop 22.
I also understand there's big companies out there that are trying to maybe game the system a little bit with independent contractors, but ultimately there's a lot of people, and including us, during this time especially, where we've been using those kinds of services.
Baljit Singh, an Uber driver, shares why Prop 22 is critical for gig drivers.
People are so used to these kind of things, and it will be, I don't know, it will be a mess if they go out of California.
Vote yes if gig drivers deserve flexibility as independent contractors. Vote no if workers should be labeled as employees and adhere to AB 5.
Reporting for OC News, this is Tristan Naglunog.
Election day is just days away, and President Trump continues the campaign trail. Let's send it over to Corey Johnson for this latest. Corey?
Thank you, Jacqueline. Only 8 days until Election Day as both President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden make their final campaign pushes. Former Vice President Joe Biden arrived in Delaware after campaigning in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Meanwhile, President Trump took his campaign to the battleground state. The president continued to pile on the pressure on his political opponent, criticizing Biden for his stance on transitioning away from oil usage.
Joe Biden confirmed his plan to abolish the entire U.S. oil industry. That means no fracking, no jobs, no energy for Pennsylvania families. He will eradicate your energy and send Pennsylvania into a crippling depression. Joe Biden is a diehard globalist who wiped out your steel mills. You know it better than almost any place in this country. Closed down your factories, kill your coal jobs, outsourced your industries, and supported every terrible and disastrous trade deal
Amy Coney Barrett has been confirmed as the 9th Supreme Court Justice with a vote of 52 to 48. Barrett's confirmation means that there will be a conservative majority in the court. CBS News reporter Daryl Forges has more.
We've continued to make offer after offer after offer, and Nancy continues to move the goalposts.
Senate Republicans set to put an end to a quick and contentious Supreme Court confirmation for Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
How do you like Amy, by the way? Isn't Amy great?
Democrats attempted to filibuster her nomination, saying the winner of the presidential election should decide the next justice.
We could have waited to after the election very easily and not divided our country further.
Barrett's addition to the court solidifies President Trump's judicial legacy and submits a conservative majority that could impact future decisions on health care and even potential disputes in the presidential election.
A lot of what we've done over the last 4 years will be undone sooner or later by the next election. They won't be able to do much about this for a long time to come.
In response, some Democrats suggested expanding the size of the Supreme Court, also known as court packing. Democratic nominee Joe Biden has not indicated where he stands on expanding the court, but said if elected, he would establish a bipartisan commission to explore changes to the Supreme Court.
I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system, because it's getting out of whack.
The coronavirus crisis also impacting the confirmation. Vice President Mike Pence will not preside over the vote as planned amid an outbreak of COVID-19 among his staff. The confirmation, expected to land largely along party lines, could also sway voters deciding key Senate contests, looking to shift the balance of power in the chamber. In Washington, I'm Daryl Forges.
The Supreme Court isn't the only thing that Democrats and Republicans are debating over. The battle over a second stimulus check continues to rage on. Both White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi are pointing the finger at each other.
We've continued to make offer after offer after offer, and Nancy continues to move the goalposts. And as you know, we're up to $1.9 trillion. I personally have talked to the leader multiple times. I've talked to senators multiple times. And at the end of the day, it was the Democrats just last week who said that they weren't going to support a $500 billion deal. So they said no to some relief coming to Americans. We're not Nancy Pelosi. We're not going to vote or opine on a bill and pass it before we've read it. And so we need to make sure that we actually read the bill. We haven't gotten an agreement. I do have a commitment from Leader McConnell that if we get an agreement, he's willing to bring it to the floor and get it passed.
We have to act. To do anything, though, that does not crush the virus is really official malfeasance. And to crush the virus, we just have to follow the science. Testing, tracing, treatment, mask wearing, ventilation, separation, and the rest. And that is what Vice President Biden has put forth. We have it in our bill. They said they're going to get back. Last week, you remember they said we'll support the testing language with minor touch. Well, that was 55% of the language. We're still waiting for the final okay, and that is a central issue in all of this. We cannot just say, President, here's trillions of dollars, spend it any way you want. We have a plan, a strategic plan. They keep moving the goalposts. They every time they say we move the goalposts, that means they're projecting what they did.
Pelosi is still confident that the two sides can come together to get a deal done, but it's not clear on when that will happen and whether that will happen before Election Day. That's all from me. Sending it back to you, Jacqueline.
Stick around for the preview of Game 6 of the World Series and information on a safe, fun Halloween.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit Coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
News. Let's head over to Monica De La Rosa for a look at this week's sports.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And now with this sports this week, LA screamed victory after last night's baseball game. Dodgers won Game 5 last night by final score 4-2. And they will be taking on the Rays tomorrow night for Game 6. And if they win, they will take the World Series 2020 trophy to LA. Go Dodgers! Tonight is Monday Night Football. Los Angeles Rams and Chicago Bears meet in key NFC matchup on Monday Night Football. Both teams have struggled in the past on Mondays. Kickoff will be in the new SoFi Stadium, which is home of the Rams. Los Angeles is 6-point favorite in the latest Rams versus Bears odds from William Hill. While the over-under is 44.5 before making any Bears versus Rams picks, LA's defense has advantage against Chicago's run game. Last week, the Rams held San Francisco to just 3.3 yards per carry on 37 rushing attempts. On the season, they are just giving up just 109 rushing yards per game, which ranks 12th in the NFL season. Go LA Rams! That's it for me now. Back to Jacqueline.
Halloween is just 5 days away, and while the governors released guidelines advising against trick-or-treat, there's still plenty of ways to celebrate the holiday in Orange County. Ariana Tapia has more on the safe ways to celebrate it.
Trick-or-treating may be all but canceled this year, but the Anaheim Fall Festival isn't letting that stop them. They took their annual parade and made it social distance friendly, featuring floats from members of the community, volunteers greeting the crowd, and even live performances. The parade had a line of cars filled with families decked out in their costumes around the block from 6 to 9 on Saturday night. The parade was a way for members of the community to bring some Halloween spirit to the streets within the restrictions set in place because of the pandemic. The festival added even more socially distanced events for Orange County residents this year. If you go to their website, AnaheimFallFestival.org, you'll see a variety of shows featuring musicians, artists, home decorating, and even costume contests. They hosted the shows live all month long, but don't worry, if you miss them, you can still watch all the fun at their final show on Halloween night at 7. For OC News, I'm Ariana Tapia.
Ariana continued her celebration at the Brea Mall, where a new drive-in theater is bringing the classics back to families. Another safe way to celebrate the holiday.
Drive-ins are among the many things that are making a comeback post-quarantine. The Brea Mall is combining the comfort of the drive-in with the spirit of Halloween. In partnership with Starlight Movies, they've brought the Halloween classics back to the big screen. While the movie is the main event, residents were encouraged to bring snacks, blankets, and even wear their costumes to the drive-in. Those who attended can show off their costumes in a small, safe, and social distance trick-or-treating station. 4 photo backdrops were set up to lead participants in their costumes, each stop passing out a little candy along the way. The parking lot venue had a concession stand complete with candy, popcorn, and freshly squeezed lemonade. After grabbing their snacks, the movie starts, but don't worry if you missed this one. Every week this month, they featured a different family-friendly movie, and there's still more to come.
So if you're looking for a safe and socially distanced way to get in the spirit, Starlight Movies still has a couple more showings. For OC News, I'm Ariana Tapia.
That's all we have for you today, Titans. Thank you for joining us here at OC News. I'm Jacqueline Davis, and we'll see you next week. I wish